Another thing that could be cool is custom, like data-driven effects. So you could register an effect, and it would be similar to like an enchantment. There's attributes it can grant, and also maybe it could take a function field, and while the player's got the effect, every tick it runs the function.
Hello everyone. I'm Gears.
And I'm Moxvallix, and welcome to the Datapack podcast, episode 12.
Here we go. It's part 2 of episode 11. We are still talking about our Datapack wishlist because turns out there's a lot of stuff from our Datapack wishlist because Datapacks are far from perfect.
Indeed.
Anyway, I guess I can start.
Yep.
So here's something which isn't necessarily something for data packs, but it is somewhat related to data packs. And sometimes I'm playing around in a world and I'm playing around with some game rule, right? Maybe I set the command modification block limit, which is like the number of commands you can modify with a /fill or /clone. I change it to something different, and yeah, or maybe I change the random tick speed, or one of those things, which has like some number which you don't know exactly what the default value is. Now, if I want to reset it to what the default is, I mean, I know, for example, that random tick speed is the default is just 3, but not everyone knows that. And so if I want to know what the default is, I have to like create a new world and look at the screen for all the game rules and see what the default is. I wish there was just a way to reset a game rule to what the default was. And also potentially, because when you create a world, you get to decide what the game rules are in a certain game rule selection screen in the world creation screen, right? And potentially there could be a way to either reset it to the default value or to reset it to what it was when the world was created. I think that could be useful as well.
Yeah.
Honestly, not too sure how useful that would be in data packs. The latter might be a bit because, sometimes you gotta like quickly turn off a game rule to like do something. For example, in Code of Copper, we temporarily disable the do tile drops game rule for when we're breaking a block with the place function. And just to make sure we don't accidentally run into the command limit there and then not enabled it and like have just like do a like completely soft lock the world by like having tile drops turned off. We have like a special system which sets a flag saying, hey, by the way, tile drops is still turned off. So, and then the next tick we just essentially check if that's set, and then we turn off tile drops or turn back on tile drops just to be sure. But let's say they're in a world where, I don't know, maybe they're in a like creative testing world and they just wanted tile drops off for, just for the purposes of like not being annoying, and not getting like items everywhere. Then our Code of Copper data pack would turn on tile drops basically after it did the place function. And so that might be annoying for people. So what I've done previously is you can execute store the result of doing /game rule to see what it's set to, and then I set it to what I want to, and then do the thing, and then basically check. You do execute store onto a score, and then check the score afterwards. But it would be nice to just be like, yeah, reset it to whatever it was before.
Yeah. And something like maybe even... Because I feel like, as well, players often change the game rules, like they don't exactly remember to do them all at world creation.
Yeah, that too.
And so they end up
But
setting them
like,
after the fact.
yeah, if there was like a way to set that as the default for that world.
Yeah, or even have like a way to set a temp game rule and then you can
Yeah,
revert
yeah,
it
exactly. And then
afterwards.
just reset it. Yeah, yeah. That could be
Yeah.
nice.
But yeah, that would definitely be useful because there's a couple times in data packs where you do want to temporarily change a game rule for like yeah, because we like in Code of Copper we're doing that because we want the break to play those the breaking particles or the breaking sound, and so we worked
Hmm.
out
And
it's
also, it's
mm,
not just that, it's also containers with items in will only drop their containing items if you use set block destroy.
right.
If you just do set block replace, it just completely deletes it.
Yeah,
And so that was the main reason. There was a
yeah,
bug in previous versions where it would like, yeah.
right, right.
Um, but yeah, the nice effect of that is that you also get the little particles and maybe a sound even. I'm not
Mm.
sure about the sound, but definitely the
Ooh,
particles.
yeah.
Um,
I think it plays the sound from memory.
but yeah, the tile drops basically because otherwise, say you got a chest and you break it, if you have tile drops on true, then it drops the chest item as well. But we've already inserted the chest item into the golem's inventory, so then we duplicate it basically.
Mm.
So essentially, we turn it off, yeah, to ensure that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So yeah, I think it would be nice. Like I can imagine, for example, a scenario where you want to somehow teleport a player to their spawn point for whatever reason, like without. And so to do that, you turn death messages off, you turn on immediate respawn, and you turn on keep inventory, and then you kill them, and they just basically teleport back to their respawn point without any other side effects, really.
Mm.
Um, but then you got to disable those afterwards, and then, but yeah, say they might have been playing with immediate respawn on for whatever reason, or they were already playing with keep inventory to make it easier or something. Then you like, yeah, you basically have to store it on a scoreboard and then set it back to that. But it would be nice to just be able to like set a temporary game rule and then set it back.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, your turn.
Yeah, okay. So my one is entities riding players, right?
Oh yeah.
So recently we got the slash ride command. I guess it's not recent anymore. It's like a year old at this point. But we got the ability.
23W03A.
Yep, the greatest snapshot ever conceived. Um, so yeah, we got the ability to make anything ride anything basically, with one exception. Nothing can ride a player, not other players, not other entities. Just can't ride players for whatever reason. I
You
don't know
can't
why.
ride markers either, by the way.
You well, yeah, but that one's more reasonable because markers don't really exist client side, so you can kind of understand why you can't ride a marker. But
Players don't exist client side. What are you talking about?
lies.
It's almost
the
like the client represents the player. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, and I do wonder, and there's like I'm assuming there's a good reason for why it can't do this, and I think it's because players don't have the like passengers NBT,
Mm,
and like having things ride players is like kind of modifying the player's NBT kind of thing. But at the
yeah.
same time, it's like, come on, let 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 an entity ride a player. That would be so cool. And as well, it would solve a bunch of issues where, like, for example, you got like an interaction entity that you want to follow around the player's head. It,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's annoying having to teleport it, and it lags, and it just all around sucks. And
Mm-hmm.
making it ride the player would fix that.
Yep.
But
Yep.
yeah, so that's on my wish list. Make slash ride work, and also just think of how cool it would be to have a stack of players. That would be funny.
Yeah.
Come on.
It would be cool to like have like a way where you could like pick up mobs and just like carry them around. That
Like
would be
that
cool to make work.
the one block at a time snap like the
Yeah,
April
exactly,
Fools.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
that would be
like, yeah,
cool.
do that with the data pack and just have them like sitting on your head.
Mm. Yeah, that would be
Um,
cool.
okay, next one, um, of mine is is to have non-square interaction entities, because pretty sure interaction entities have two size properties, right? It has horizontal and vertical size, right?
Mm.
Or width and height.
Yeah,
But what that means is that there can be whatever height and whatever width, but the width is always a square, right? It's always the same size in X and Z directions. And sometimes you don't really want that. Like, for example, one use of interaction entities I've seen is to like lock a door. So basically, if you put an interaction entity over a door, then you can't click it and you can't open it.
mm.
Um, and well, the somewhat annoying thing is that obviously doors aren't a square, and so basically you have to create an interaction entity that's an entire block by an entire block, which means it sticks out a bit
Yeah,
and causes other sort of annoyances. And so if you could make one which was like the correct exact width, and like I wish there was just like an X, Y, and Z size. It would just be
yeah,
like size be like an array, just like the display entities, right? They just have a scale
yeah,
of just three values in one for each direction. Like it wouldn't be difficult to do that, but anyway,
yeah. It's a weird choice that it's just
alas,
width and height, but
it's not possible.
yeah, classic Mojang implementation. Just miss
Yeah.
out one of the axes. Beautiful. Yeah, that would be a good
Yeah.
feature. Um, I mean, what could get even more interesting is, and they would never do this, but interaction entity shapes. Like you could
Uh-huh.
have a circle one, like different shapes. It'd be very
Yeah.
cursed, but it'd be funny. I'd like that.
Or
Um,
like a perfectly bed shaped
yeah, you
thing.
could set it to
Shape
be
of a bed hitbox.
the shape of a block or something. Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Um, okay, to move on to my next one. This one is not necessarily data pack related, but well, I mean it's data pack related, but it's not necessarily part of the data pack. But this would be
Mm-hmm.
custom entity models, right? So we've got a way to
Oh
add
yeah.
custom item models, and we've got a way to add custom block models. But what we don't have
Mm,
a way to do
not
is
really. Oh no, sorry. We can, yeah,
no
right.
no
Sorry,
we
I was
can
confusing it with custom model data type thing. But
no
yeah,
no
you
no
can change the model of a block,
yeah,
yeah.
you can change the model of a block, you
Yeah.
can change the model of an item, you can't change the model of an entity.
No,
Uh,
they're all hard coded.
they're
Yay.
all hard coded, and the worst thing is like for years we've had I think it's called CEM, and it's implemented into Optifine, other mods implemented as well, and it's like a way for
Yeah.
resource packs to do custom entity models and animations and everything, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
in vanilla, and
Yeah.
it's it's so limiting. Like you in vanilla, you just end up putting a head on a zombie or a skeleton, and that's your custom entity, and it just kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like
Yeah,
your
yeah.
data pack, you're either doing a massive like set of complicated item and block displays to get your
Mm-hmm.
custom mob going, or you usually will just put a player head on a zombie and be like, yeah, this is the
Yeah.
epic boss fight that I made. And oh,
It's a zombie with a skeleton head. I
yeah,
think the main trouble you'd run into there is the animations,
mm,
basically, because obviously items you can have texture animations on items, but you can't have model animations.
yeah.
Um, and like blocks, with the exception of like a chest, but I think a chest is implemented separately, right? That's a
Chests are
block
hard coded
entity,
as
and
well. Yeah,
from minimal block entity experience with modding, that's hard coded.
mm,
Um,
yeah. Like making those
so
things data driven would be really cool, but I
so
imagine
yeah,
it'll
I
be a lot
think
harder for them to do.
like there's a lot of different animations which
Mm,
different mobs play, right?
Yeah.
All the walking animation and the hitting animation and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, it would. I think it would be. That's probably the main limitation, but it
Mm.
would be cool to be able to even define what those animations look like in resource packs.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean,
yeah,
like for example, there's a resource pack which does require CEM or for fabric. Wow, actual aneurysm moment right there. Um, Optifine or Optifine equivalents.
yeah,
I think it's called Fresh Animations. A lot of
hmm
hermits
yeah.
on
I've seen that
Hermitcraft
a
will
lot.
use
Yeah,
it, and that's like customized, and that's a resource pack, right? So it is like the mod's still there, but they have made it data driven. Like those animations are implemented in a data driven way, so
hmm
it is possible to to implement that in Minecraft because like modders have done it.
yeah,
So that would
for
be
sure.
really cool to have like either implement that format or a similar format to be able to customize animations and entity models and stuff. That would be quite
hmm
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, yeah. Okay. My turn now.
Yep.
So the next few, well, a while ago, in fact, it was right at the beginning of my YouTube channel. It was probably my, I don't know, fifth video or something, somewhere in the first 10, I would say. Um, I did a video which was like ideas for commands to be added in Minecraft. Um, and so I've taken some of those and repurposed them for this because I mean, it was a long time ago and I was still somewhat new to Datapacks at that point. I mean, I had quite a lot of experience with them, but I was a little bit, naive and
Yeah.
anyway. Um, so yeah, and so some of them, interestingly, um, have been implemented in one way or another since that video. Um, in like the whole data pack change from like 1.19.4 all the way up to 1.21, all sorts of stuff has changed, and so some of it is now possible in vanilla.
Mm.
But the first one is sort of partially implemented. Basically, my idea was a command slash health, right? And slash health gave you essentially a sort of a, a variety of operations for working with the health of different entities. So
Mm.
I'm pretty sure you could do a few things. You could just literally add or subtract raw values from it, which would basically do it with no effects. It would just change the amount. Um, but then you could also do like a damage, right? Which is we now have that slash damage, right? Um, and you could also do like a heal, which had various parameters. I don't remember the exact details now. Um, but I think you could also yeah, you could do damage, which would just like literally subtract that number from your health, or you could do damage, which would like respect armor and stuff like that. Um, and it was a little more versatile than the slash damage command we have, because while slash damage is very useful for dealing damage to players, um, the sort of annoying thing is that uh, um, you you can't easily like heal a player by a certain number of hearts still.
Yeah. That's still stuck. You basically still have to do that with instant health,
Yeah,
which is annoying.
which gives you very limited control of how much health they gain and stuff. So
Mm.
I think it would be kind of nice if there was like a bit more diversity to that.
Yeah.
Um, I think I had slash health set, which would just literally set your health to to a set value,
Mm.
and then I had slash health damage and slash health heal, I
Yeah.
think. And then various options in those, which it would be nice to um, have like some more options with that because I think that would be pretty useful.
Or just allow us, negative damage, theoretically. That would heal.
Yeah, yeah,
Negative damage.
yeah, yeah.
That's the
That
bad
sounds
route.
like the kind of thing.
The
That sounds
darkest
like the
time.
kind of thing Mojang would do.
Yeah, honestly. That the worst implementation. Yep. There we go. Negative damage. Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. So the my one, this one would be really, really big. I think, would open up a lot of possibilities with data packs. But itemless and entityless input detection. So a way to
Hmm.
get just at any point in time with a data pack, left click, right click, and maybe even keyboard input
Yep,
to,
that's on my list. That
aha,
was
got another
that was
one.
in my video, in my original video.
Yeah, but just the
Yeah.
way to like just being able to detect that would be so useful because
Hmm.
it like it would open up heaps of possibilities for like UI, right? Heaps of like
Uh-huh.
possibilities for like doing like custom key bindings. It would make like casting spells with data packs easier. You're no longer
Yeah.
tied to having
You
to.
probably
Mm,
yeah.
yeah,
You probably wouldn't define it. Now, this is something which in my original video I didn't exactly like how I did it. My original idea was to have like a scoreboard criteria for pressing a key.
right.
Um,
Yeah,
like one scoreboard criteria for each key.
yeah, yeah.
Which like near I don't think that really makes sense. What would be better, I think, is if you because the way that Minecraft's key binding system works is that you have all like you have like a resource location for each key bind, and then that is then displayed in settings. You can bind it to whatever you want.
Mm,
So you would like define a key bind, and then you would have like a default key, and then you just essentially detect key binds by a resource location, just like how that, and then it lets the user rebind it to whatever they want.
mm.
Um, yeah, which I think is probably a better way of doing that.
Yeah, and you could have like a keybind registry, and that it would run a function like the in the data. It would have a function that runs, or it would basically have a like an advancement reward kind of thing, but for whenever that
Yeah,
input is done, and then you could go from there. Yeah, that would be good. Um,
yeah, I think that would be cool.
yeah, because like right
Well,
now,
theoretically,
mm,
anyway, um, what I'm saying is theoretically, it could be defined instead of in a file, you could literally just define it with, you could have like a slash key command,
right.
um, and then like do like slash key add, and then you give it the resource location, and then the default key, just like you would with a scoreboard, for example.
Oh,
And
right.
then
Yeah,
um, I don't know, because there's not a whole lot of stuff would define in like a JSON file.
yeah.
Um, I don't know if yeah, and then you could like dynamically add keys and stuff
Like, can
at
I just
runtime, which would be cool.
Can I just say that if scoreboards were implemented in modern day, they definitely would have been a registry in a data pack rather than scoreboard
True.
objectives ad.
Yeah, that's true.
It is a weird system, the scoreboard system. It doesn't
A little,
exactly
yeah.
fit with the rest of data pack stuff now.
I mean, boss bars and teams are also use the
Oh,
same thing, but they're also quite old.
yeah. Boss
But
bars are
yeah,
so confusing.
yeah, and teams and boss bars use sort of similar thing because you create a boss bar and then you like use slash boss bar modify or
Mm,
whatever it is,
yeah,
and the same with teams. You're like, well, yeah, whereas now it would just be a JSON file with all the config values just in the JSON file itself.
yeah. Which, in
But
my
the
opinion, would
nice
be
thing
better.
about um yeah, well, and I guess I'll sort of tie this into my next one, which is like having some way to like add stuff to a registry at runtime,
Hmm.
because like an advancement, a recipe, all the stuff like that, um, all of it you have to do it at like you know you have to manually write out the files and stuff. But it would
Yeah.
be cool to like, I mean, yeah, because that's the nice thing about scoreboards and stuff. You can add a scoreboard like whenever you want
Mm,
during the game's running process. So it could be kind of cool to have a way to like register a new advancement
yeah.
using MC function, or register a new recipe or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. And then like it could, because there's already a convention for that. There's Minecraft, like there's the generated folder in Worlds, and it's
Mm-hmm.
for generated like stuff. Like for example, when you use a structure block, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it stores it in the same kind of way that a data pack uses it, uh, but in
Mm-hmm.
the generated folder. And so Minecraft could have other things be dynamically generated like that, and then would be just specific to that world. And yeah, that would be quite cool. I don't know how you
I'm not
would.
sure how that would work. How would you
Yeah,
define JSON in empty function?
I guess you would just
But
write the JSON in the command,
yeah,
and then you can macro it. Let's go. Yeah,
yeah, it would be kind of weird, but
it'd be weird but
anyway,
cool.
it would be cool.
Something I really have been tempted to do multiple times is like kind of get all of these like ideas that we've had for data packs and just make them into a mod as just like
Yeah.
a testing ground for all these data pack ideas, and then just be kind of
Mm-hmm.
like, hey Mojang, we've made a mod, check it out, and then hopefully they might see some ideas they like, and it's just proof of concept mod for data packs that we could like try out data packs using that mod and stuff. That's something I wouldn't mind doing at some point, especially now that
Yeah,
we've gotten
I've
into modding a bit.
mm-hmm. Yeah, we've yet to talk about that on the podcast. Um, but yeah, I'm sure we'll do an episode on it at some point.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, I've also had that idea. Like, it would be cool if there's just a mod which just like adds all these things and tries to implement them.
yeah.
Um, there is something similar. One of the admins in Datapack Hub, Cobblestone, he is he's not really a Datapack developer. I don't know. He doesn't make Datapacks. He's just sort of part of the admin team. He helps with like the website and stuff. But he also does plugins and mods and stuff. And he's created this. I'm pretty sure. I think it's a plugin called Cocktail.
Right.
I don't remember exactly. Uh, I don't remember whether it's a plugin or a mod or what, um, but yeah, that sort of is a similar thing where he's added like um various things like yeah, well, uh anyway, he's added a few cool things. I think he added slash damage before that was a thing,
Yeah.
um, and a few things like that, which
Slash
which is
motion.
cool. Yeah,
Probably.
probably it
That
has
one's
that as
so
well.
requested. I mean, slash ride
Uh
kind
huh.
of fixed the slash motion problem. Kinda. I don't know. It's still not the best solution, but placated a bunch of people, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I guess it's your turn now.
My turn? Okay. This one's a fun one. Uh, UUID conversion. So,
Mm-hmm.
this is annoying, right? Minecraft uses UUIDs in two formats. Uh, One format is an array of four integers, and the other format is, the more typical like hexadecimal UUID format, which
Yeah.
is a bunch of hexadecimal numbers dash separated. And so oftentimes in commands you use the hex, but then obviously in NBT you use the integer array. And there's no way to really convert between them. You have to
We should
implement
make
a.
a library for it. We should add a Moxlib module,
We should add a
UUID,
Moxlib module, yeah.
like
But
a dual way thing.
mm,
But yeah, it would be nice to have a built-in way to do that.
a built-in way to do that, and also I feel like a module is going to be quite expensive to do. And usually the reason why you're using UUIDs is because it saves on a bunch of uh, it's a lot more performant to reference an entity. And I guess this goes back to last episode's custom selectors kind of thing. But it's a lot more
Yeah.
performant to directly reference an entity with its UUID or at s
Mm-hmm.
than it is using other selectors. Um, and so yeah, like being able to convert the integer array into the hex format, which could then be used with macros to, you know, target the particular entity would be good.
Yeah.
See, I'm not sure how they would implement the conversion. Like, I don't know how it would do it. Like, maybe just have some field that like takes in, like, like it could really just be a side effect of something where it like takes in the integer array and it just the field usually uses a hex or something and it just auto converts it. Like, there's a bunch of
Yeah.
random entity fields that do this like conversion stuff. So that could be how it's
Yeah.
implemented, but obviously that's not those aren't really intentional. Those are like side effects that we exploit. So I don't know how if it was to be an intentional feature it would be implemented, but
Yeah.
it would be nice. Would be nice.
Yeah, for sure. Again, yeah, it's like get block. It's like how would that work? Because it's got to like return a non-integer value to somewhere, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's sort of a weird thing, but yeah, it definitely would be cool somehow.
Mm.
Okay, so the next one, I'm sure most people will agree with me on this one. More data-driven recipes. So you can recipes for crafting tables, furnaces,
Mm-hmm.
smithing tables, they're all data driven. You
Yep.
can modify those. But brewing recipes, I wish you could create your own custom brewing recipes. Um, as well as what other kind of recipes are there? No, stone cutting is data driven. Um, I mean, brewing's the main one that comes to mind. Are there any other things which should be
I mean, allowing
which could be data
custom
driven?
items in the loom to assign patterns to
Oh yeah, the
particular
loom, the
items would be
loom.
cool. Because right
Yeah,
now there's the banner pattern items, but
right, and that's data driven.
that's data driven as to which pattern goes to which item. But what's like, it would be cool to also like accept a custom item in the loom to have a secret pattern that's just on that item. That's something I really
Yeah,
wanted
yeah.
to do with my many more banners data pack, but unfortunately couldn't.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think that would be cool. And there's probably another
just
workstation.
just
I
thinking
mean,
through some others.
cartography doesn't really.
Cartography only it has a very specific set.
It's
Um,
got like two, three things you can do in it. So I'm not sure it really makes sense.
yeah,
Although they are technically data driven, they're some of the special recipes I mentioned last episode.
yeah,
Um, so you can, yeah, but you can't. Anyway, brewing recipes is the main one. It would be very nice to have custom brewing recipes.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
I feel like that the brewing system is so weird. Um, I do wonder how. Like, I think we do need a brewing overhaul at some point. And maybe it would come with a brewing overhaul because I feel like potions are just such a nightmare to use, and they're just I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of lost potential with potions and brewing.
Yeah,
Um,
I think so. Yeah.
that could really be improved upon. Um, yeah, and obviously custom potions would be really cool. I mean, another thing that could be cool is custom like data driven effects. So you could register an effect and it would be similar to like an enchantment, there's attributes it can uh you know grant, and also maybe it could take a function field and while the player's got the effect every tick it runs the function, right? So custom data driven effects. This
Mm,
isn't actually on my list. I just
yeah.
thought of it now, but data driven effects would be really cool. Um, because like we seem to be like now that there's precedence for it with like the enchantment system. There's a lot of
Uh huh.
functionality there that's data driven like that. That's an impressive amount of customizability, and I feel like it's not too big of a leap to be like, well, effects could be like this, because I
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
like
yeah. That.
effects are rather simple, uh, because they really just apply attribute modifiers for the most part. I mean,
Mhm.
there's a couple that are like bad omen and stuff, but those are like outliers. Bad omen, night vision,
Fire
invisibility.
resistance.
fire resistance, yeah. But like jump boost, speed, strength,
Health boost.
regeneration. I don't think that's a
Regeneration is special.
is special.
Absorption is technically special too,
Yeah, those are special.
but resistance,
Resistance, yeah,
um, yeah, a lot of those things. Slowness,
yeah,
all the inverses of those. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think that's another thing because yeah, like if you want to add like a custom effect to your data pack, you basically just have to retexture an existing effect, like luck or bad luck usually.
Fuck. Okay, why do those exist? I've never understood why you would need those effects.
Apparently, they have something to do. I think they like
They
give you.
increase loot in like they improve your odds with loot tables.
Yeah,
But I've
but
never
it's only in
actually seen a use for it.
certain ways.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they seem like
it's only
a
like fishing or
half
something.
fishing. They it's another one that seems like it's a half implemented feature. It was like someone had an idea at some point and then it clearly just never went anywhere, but it's still in the game.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, data
yep,
driven effects would be really cool.
yeah.
Whose turn are we on?
Okay, so I guess mine because you came
Yeah,
up with
yeah,
effects. Um, so yeah, here's one which it can be pretty annoying sometimes, which is that slash schedule. When you slash schedule a function, it loses all its context, which makes
yes.
sense. I understand why, right? Because
Hmm.
mm, if you execute as an entity, schedule it, and then the entity dies, or the player leaves, or something like that, then context is broken. But I feel like there should be a way to just like save the context. And
Hmm.
if the context gets broken somehow, like the entity dying, just don't execute it.
Yeah.
Like just a way to do to just save the context
Yeah. Or
with
just even
slash schedule.
like it doesn't even have to save the whole context. Like just schedule as.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just like have
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
schedule as and at maybe.
Yeah.
Um, just like have it like it doesn't have to remember the location it was at last time. It just has to, you know, rerun as that entity preferably would be
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
really useful. Because yeah, it's annoying. Like you end up having interim functions. That's basically it schedules an interim functions that runs the selector to get the entity
Mm-hmm.
back, and then runs the function that you want it to schedule.
But
And
that like
it's just annoying.
um y- yeah.
It's got
But that
performance
can
problem.
cause other issues like yeah, you gotta let then tag like what basically if you want to have like each individual entity with their own clock, you basically have to just have
Mm,
a scoreboard timer. But it'd be really nice if you could have like a player does something and then you have like like a some sort of delay and then you say okay now after 2 seconds of them doing that thing run something else
mm,
but then have it separate counter for each entity because you can't really do that with slash schedule. You have to use scoreboard counters, which
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. That would be nice. Also,
yeah. All
another
right.
cool thing with a schedule would be like maybe some way of like scheduling rather than it necessarily being a schedule, maybe another command where it's like you set an amount of time and it keeps looping, like it keeps running every tick until the time runs out.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be like a countdown kind of
Yeah,
thing. That would be another cool one rather than having to set
that
up a
that
countdown.
could be cool. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Um, so I keep coming up with new features or new wish lists as we're
yeah. No,
going.
I'm doing that too. A lot of these
Oh, nice,
my list's about as long as when we started this episode, so yeah,
nice, nice.
we still got plenty to get through.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, your turn.
Okay, so this is actually the final one I've got written down, but I'm sure I'll come up with
Mm-hmm.
more as we keep talking. But pack overlays in subfolders.
Oh yeah.
Now, okay, so
Uh,
for context, which release gave us pack overlays? I don't remember.
oh, probably 1.20.
I think it
It
might have
wasn't
even been like one point.
1.19.4.
Was it like 1.20.2 or something? It was like I feel like it was a
Maybe it was 1.20.2, yeah.
yeah. I feel like it was a
That was
mid.
when they added macros.
Yeah, I think it was the same time. And so
Yeah.
basically, for anyone that doesn't know what a pack overlay is, it's basically so that you can set, like basically set overrides for a particular pack format, and it's a way to make data packs have backwards compatibility, right? So it's there. It like say if you wanted to, you could, you know, build your data pack to support multiple versions, and it's something we're planning like later down the line in Zoglin to have a nice way of doing, which would have essentially compile to a bunch of pack overlays. But uh, the problem with it, however, it's great in concept, and we have used it before. It's quite nice. The problem with it is that you have each overlay you have to put in the root folder. So each
Mm-hmm.
overlay folder you have to put in the root folder, and you can't set them in a subfolder, which is just
It's
baffling
so weird.
choice. It's a baffling choice, and it would be so much like it just pollutes your root data pack folder with a bunch of like annoying, pointless folders that are only doing a couple of changes, and it's like, oh, please let us organize this into an overlays folder or something. Eh,
Yeah.
yeah, that it's just it's a thing that would be so simple to change, and like it would just improve. Like I would probably use them a lot more if that was that if like it did that. It kind of makes me not want to use them because it you know kind of ruins my folder structure. So yeah, that's on the wish list. Pack overlays in subfolders.
Yeah. Okay, so my next thing on the list is I don't know exactly how this would work, but some way to like essentially do some of the more complex interactions using like using data packs. So for example, like I don't know what happens when you right click a block and I don't know, like yeah, like a door for example, when you right click it, it like toggles state.
Mm,
And like having a way to do that with data packs, or like having a way to somehow craft a recipe using a data pack. Now you can technically do that now if you have like it requires a physical location, but if you have like a crafter,
mm,
the new crafter you can like put the items in and then trigger it with redstone and see what pops out.
yeah,
Um but like
it's a bit jank.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it kind of is. So yeah, basically, it would be cool to be like have like a way to do that with data packs and
Yeah,
do some of those like interactions.
yeah. Slash
Um,
craft. Slash
slash
craft, and
craft.
you have to write out items. You have to write out 9 items. You can
Mm-hmm.
use
And
underscore for a blank space. Um,
mm-hmm.
and then you have to specify a storage or inventory or something in the end to put it into. That would just be the
Yeah, I
longest
have no
command.
idea how that would work,
Yeah, a
but it
nice
would be
way to
cool to
craft
be able to do
items
something
would
like
be
that.
great. Because we would definitely use that in Code of Copper because we wanted the golem to be able to craft items.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is something where I think we're still planning in a future release to be able to do. And I mean,
Yep.
now that we got the crafter, it's probably easier than it would have been before.
Before it was basically impossible because you can't read registries with the data pack. You would basically just have to hard code recipes, I'm pretty sure.
Mm, yeah, which is obviously
Yeah,
not great.
not
Rather
good.
not do that. Yeah.
Um, yeah. I guess since your list is done, I'll keep going.
Yep.
Um, so next one is um like data modify for players.
Right.
Now, I know this is like a thing which yeah, with which
they don't want you doing.
yeah, but like I feel like if they could just make it so that some MBT entries are writable and some aren't. Like
Mm.
motion, for example. Like surely you can data modify the motion field, right? Like you can set motion like okay, let's say they had a slash motion command.
Yeah.
What's the difference between that and data modify the motion field?
Who knows? I I think the point they were trying to say with the slash data commands is that it's physically changing the data on the disk or something. Uh, and then
Right.
I think like how it works is it kind of reloads the entity once you change it, and you can't really
Yeah.
reload the player. I don't know.
Mm,
I, I
right.
I don't know. I don't really understand
Yeah.
what they said, but
Yeah, well, my idea was to have like not necessarily just be able to modify players, but like have a separate subcommand like data modify player, and that has like some different logic to it
mm,
that somehow makes it possible.
yeah, definitely having
I don't know.
another thing to add to that is even even if we didn't get to edit some fields, having a player specific data storage would be really useful.
Yeah, without having to use macros for like UUIDs and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Just being able to store straight store data against the player, I guess, would just
Yeah.
it would just reduce so much overhead. I mean, it's now with macros, it's not hard to do player specific storage, and before you could do it as well with entity ID and you know iterating arrays. But
Yeah.
both systems are just clunky, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just a bit annoying. Like being able to do data modifier, the data modify player something would be
Yeah.
be quite nice. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And I think it could be cool, like as an initial thing, just to be able to store arbitrary NBT data on any entity.
Mm.
Because items support arbitrary NBT data, markers support arbitrary NBT data,
Yeah.
but other entities don't.
Mm.
Like you can do
Why?
it sort of with like with an item display, for example, with the custom data field of the item itself, but that's kind of janky and doesn't really work for other entities.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's
so yeah,
it is quite annoying that you can't do that. I feel like it should. I feel like it's kind of a no brainer to just allow
yeah,
it. Because there's so many times where you're like, I just want to write some storage specific to this entity, but then doesn't allow you to.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then you end up
It's kind of annoying.
with regular entities, you end up writing a marker onto them. Like for example, Code
Hmm.
of Copper, we've got the
We got
golem
the marker which
itself.
stores all
Yeah,
the brain.
the brain. So yeah, we've got it's actually three entities in one. It's the chess minecart.
Minecart, the display entity,
Yeah.
and the marker.
Oh, and this is
Yeah.
a mini data pack wish list here. Nice mini one. A way to make minecarts invisible, or
Oh
specifically
yeah.
chess minecarts invisible, because
They're
just
really
being
nice
able
for
to
UIs and stuff.
yeah, and it's
Portable
just
UIs.
annoying that you can't scale them. Firstly, if we could scale
Hmm.
them, it would kind of mitigate it somewhat because you could just scale it down to not be sticking out of a block and stuff like that. But what would just be better is, and you can make the chest inside it invisible because for whatever reason you can set any block to display. I don't know why
Yeah.
that's a feature, but it is. I guess it's kind of cool.
Hmm.
I'm guessing it uses that. I'm guessing it's because they all inherit from the command block, the spawner, and the chest minecart probably all
Yeah.
inherit from the same
And
class.
Hopper minecart and Furnace minecart.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's probably why it has that NBT data. But
Hmm.
it's
But the
just
minecart itself, yeah.
the minecart itself just can't be invisible, and if it could be
Like,
like if it maybe if it just even had a hidden field like an armor stand does, would
Yeah,
be
invisible.
yeah, invisible, yeah.
Invisible, true. Yep,
Invisible
that would be
or
nice.
respond to the invisibility
Invisibility
effect.
effect.
Either or, I don't mind. Just just let us make them invisible.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah, it would be good.
Okay, shall I give my next one?
Yep.
So this is sort of these are a couple of commands which exist on Bedrock Edition, which don't exist on Java, and I think would be super cool to have as part of a Datapack toolset, which would definitely allow us to do stuff which we can't do already. So the first one is slash animation,
Oh,
where basically you can play an arbitrary animation on an arbitrary entity. I don't know exactly how it works, but I'm pretty sure you can like play, for example, the piglin dance animation on like a chicken if you wanted to.
huh.
And it somehow does that. I don't know how it works, but it's cool. Um,
Yeah, I would
and
imagine that it wouldn't be too compatible with Java's animation
no,
system.
probably not. But the other one is slash camera,
Oh,
which is um basically lets you manipulate the player's camera separately from their body, so you can like detach it. Um, you can use it to create like uh sort of yeah interesting effects and stuff, and like cutscenes and all sorts of things.
yeah.
Um,
That
without like transforming the player to spectator and doing stuff and then TPing
mm,
them back or whatever.
yeah, that would be really useful. And I feel like as well the FNAF fan games made in Minecraft would pop off then.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure somebody made something like that in Bedrock when because that was quite recent. I think that was like around 1.19.4
Yeah,
or 1.20 maybe.
yeah,
I remember when that came out and I was seeing some cool stuff done with it. But yeah, you can't do it in Java,
yeah,
which is kind of annoying.
yeah. That one would be really great. And then, of course, you would end up having the free cam data pack that
Yeah, yeah.
moves the camera around, somehow
Yeah.
detects, like keeps teleporting the player back in the same spot, but gets the direction they were going. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Yep, yep.
that would be a good feature.
Okay. These next two are pretty short. They're just little things which would be nice to have. So the first one is execute if function with a macro. So there's this execute
Yes.
subcommand added somewhat recently, execute if function,
Mm-hmm.
which is where you basically check the return value of the function and um and then do something if it returns non-zero,
Mm.
basically. Um and so yeah. Um I think but you can't provide any macro arguments.
Yeah.
You can only just run the function,
Yep.
which is kind of annoying
Mm-hmm.
because if you want to run it with a macro, then you got to like do extra stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so I think yeah, it would be nice little feature if you could just run execute if function with a macro. Um, and on a similar note, they both sort of, I mean, yeah, this one we talked about again a couple of episodes ago, where when I was telling you about this thing I wrote for my parser,
Mm.
where like if one parser failed, it would just return, and then if you just did slash return run function, if the function didn't return, it wouldn't return from that function.
Mm.
And so I just basically return from each. I just do return run function, parse this first bit, return run function, parse this next bit. And then if it essentially got to the end without returning, that means it all succeeded.
Yeah.
Um, so it would be cool if there was like some way to do return if and then like do some optional value and it only returns if that value exists.
Yeah.
So you could do like return if scoreboard players get, and then if the score doesn't exist, it doesn't return, but if it does, then it returns the value of it.
Mm.
Um, and you could potentially do a similar thing with like execute if function, right? You could do like execute. That's the other thing I was trying to do. I was trying to do like execute if function once they basically patched that, I was trying to do execute if function, blah blah blah, then return.
Yeah.
But then most of the parsing things took a macro argument,
Yeah.
and so that wasn't possible either, which made it a bit of a headache. And so I just essentially didn't touch the project, and I haven't touched it since.
Yep.
It's now probably 2 years later. No, like a year later, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
And I still haven't touched it because, yeah. Anyway, um, yeah. So, I have one more on my list after this.
Yep.
Um, and this isn't really something which necessarily Datapack should have, and I don't think it's something that Mojang are considering adding anytime soon. But it would be pretty cool to have a way to make HTTP requests with datapacks.
Yes.
And we talked about this a lot and speculated about the possibility of somehow doing that with what's it, slash transfer?
Slash transfer, yeah.
Which is yeah.
So
But it would
cursed.
be so cool if you could make a data pack which sends requests to the internet and gets data back and does stuff. But let's face it, that's never happening.
Yeah. I mean, the other
But you
one
know,
is if
a man can dream.
man can dream. No, but like if you know, if they allowed player skulls to also just
Yeah, yeah,
not be on like textures.minecraft.com or .minecraft.net and just you know, if that was allowed to be any site, then that would also be a way of doing it
yeah.
because then it could send like
But
that would be two-way sending. But yeah, the transfer is the most likely one of being able to do it, and we have been kind of planning to at some point just try it out and
yeah,
write.
I think we discussed it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's obviously you need like a player, at least one player, and that player's got to be fine bouncing around between a fake server and a normal Minecraft server.
yeah, yeah. Actually, okay, I've just thought of one more.
Mm,
Um, which is basically at the moment there's no easy way to. Well, okay, basically the only way to make custom commands is with slash trigger.
yeah.
Um, and that's somewhat limited because the only thing you can do is provide it with a number.
Mm,
Um, and it would be cool to be able to set up some sort of way to do a slash trigger. And I know a slash trigger is just a scoreboard, so it would have to be reworked somehow. But like have it take more than just a number as the thing you're setting it to, and just like um have like a way to take in more arguments somehow
yeah.
and be like trigger and then give it a string or something. That would be pretty cool. Um, to be able to add, yeah, and
Mm.
detect.
Or even yeah, data-driven commands that can run functions.
Yeah, 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 that too.
That would be cool.
That would be very cool.
All right. I think unless you've got any others, I think it's probably a good place to
Nope,
wrap
I
it
think
up.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. This was fun. I enjoyed talking about that. And yeah, it was good. Like there was some overlap between the two of our lists, but not too much.
Yeah,
Um,
for the most part we came up with fairly different sets of ideas,
yeah,
so that was good.
like I'm sure given enough time, we'd probably come up with somewhat similar things because
Mm,
there's a lot of things which we found are somewhat limiting, but we've all like yeah, some of mine are from like various projects I've worked on in the past, and they're very specific situations, like the return if thing.
mm,
Like I doubt many people have run into that before, so yeah.
yeah.
Um, but anyway, I think I enjoyed that, and hopefully you enjoyed listening to our suggestions. And if you have any ideas of your own about things that Mojang should add to data packs, leave them in the comments. Or I don't know, you can't really leave a comment if you're not listening on YouTube, but I don't know, join our Discord server and tell us there or something. Um, And yeah, I guess we will see you in the next one.